This is Still a Part of Us, a podcast where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter Red, and in this episode of Advice and Encouragement from a Lost Mom, I chat with Stephanie, whose son Collin was stillborn at 39 weeks due to a cord accident. By the way, you can hear Stephanie's and her husband Sam's episodes about the birth of their child on episodes 40 and 42. Today, we discuss with Stephanie how she ended up taking a full FMLA break after Collin was born and how much that helped her heal, and how she felt interacting with her doctor at her follow-up appointments. That was super interesting, and that simply acknowledging her loss, even sending a simple text message, was super helpful for her. As a word of caution to our listeners, this discussion contains emotional triggers of stillbirth and infant loss. Please keep yourself emotionally and mentally healthy and seek help if needed. Hope this helps someone out there today. Stephanie, thank you so much again for coming on to the podcast and chatting with us today. Your story of Collin's birth was so moving, and so it felt like you were talking for a lot of us who are so just frustrated and angry and sad, and when we experience the same thing. So thank you for giving voice to a lot of us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. For some context, how long ago was Collin born, so that everybody knows where you're at?
Collin was born 7 months ago.
7 months ago.
7 months.
So very new still. And I know you actually talked a lot about how that first little bit was after losing Collin. How have you been dealing with your grief and mourning for the last 7 months, though? How has that looked for you?
Oh, it's complicated. Some days are better than others. Some days you can breathe. Other days are you're just sad, panicky, guilt-ridden. It's just kind of a wave, and some days you feel okay and you can breathe. And then other days you're just kind of shaky and it just can't deal with it. So it's all different. It helps going to therapy. I do go to therapy every week. And that definitely helps, just talking about how I'm feeling that day or that week, and things I can do. Taking care of myself, I've tried to just kind of, give myself some time. I go to the gym. I just give myself some quiet time. So I'm just trying to kind of take care and get my mind together. But it's been so hard, and I just nobody has dealt with a stillbirth or an infant loss. So I just kind of feel like I'm by myself. People are trying to say the right things, but it sucks. It just sucks.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that. It totally does. And you have found you're going to a counselor or therapist once a week. Has that been helpful? Have you learned anything that has been helpful for you?
Yeah. So I initially went to a grief counselor, it was an older guy that I just wasn't relating to. So I went to a postpartum therapist, which is just wonderful, and she's kind of near my age, and we can just relate, and we talk back and forth, and she gives me different ways to cope or different ways to view the situation. She always says, if you had a friend that is going through this, what would you tell your friend? Because I beat myself up a lot, and she kind of likes to switch it to that. And it's really been helping, and just talking, and so finding a great therapist, I think, is very helpful, and being kind to yourself. Another lost mom told me that, and I try to just think that when I'm beating myself up and feeling guilty, those words help. But yeah, therapy, it's been really helpful.
Great. I also want to reiterate what you just said is finding the right therapist is kind of the key. Because
yes.
if you don't have the right therapist, then you're just okay, well, I might as well not do therapy, but it can be helpful, but you got to find the right person, the right match.
Yeah. So. My first therapist, he was an older guy, and I'm talking about birth and my pregnancy line on your stomach. And he's like, what's that? I'm like, you don't know what that is. And I'm like, all right, I need a new therapist.
Yeah. I need you to be able to relate.
You need to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh man. Yep, that's for sure. And I absolutely love what she said about how would you help a friend who's going through this. So kind of turn the
Yeah.
tables so that you can.
It makes you view the situation differently.
Yeah.
Like, I would tell my friend this, that, and the other thing, and not exactly what I think in my head and tell myself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I like that turning of the tables. That is helpful.
yeah.
And what do you like to do to give yourself quiet time? You said that you like to make sure that you go to the gym and take care of yourself, and then also just get some quiet time. I know you have a 2-year-old, so how do you kind of fit that in?
I don't have a lot of quiet time. Sometimes it's just going to TJ Maxx for an hour.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally.
Just maybe picking out a candle or a blanket or, whatever they have there. Sometimes I do visit Collin every now and then, and I like to bring something to him.
Oh, that's nice.
Like a little trinket. I have a little area in my room that I keep with stuff that reminds me of Collin. So sometimes I just pick up stuff and put it, like a trinket I'll pick out, or like a butterfly or a little baby angel. I guess that's not quiet time, but those are some things I like to do to kind of remember Collin.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah. I don't have a lot of quiet time, I guess.
I know. And then I was actually going to ask you kind of, because you have a 2-year-old son, and Ben, and he I'm sure is very busy. And then you also, did you go back to work after?
Yeah. So
how quickly?
That was one of the first thoughts, was like, what happens? Like, I thought I had, I was supposed to have a 3-month maternity leave, with FMLA, it protects your job. I'm like, to take care of your child. So I'm like, do I still get this time off? So I was kind of like, I don't want to go back to work after this. Yeah. So I talked to my employer, which I work at a really nice company. They're really good people. And, they know my situation. I've been there like 6 years, and they were just like, take your same maternity leave. It's fine. So that was nice. So I took 3 months off. Good. And some people told me, like my mom and some other people, was like, oh, you might want to just get busy and go back to work. And I'm like, no. And this was like, 3 weeks after. I'm like, I want to take this time to heal and just kind of lick my wounds and, spend time with Ben, who's still young at his age. So I took the full 3 months off, and I'm glad I did.
Good. And then I'm assuming going back to work was a little, I remember my first day back, I was like, oh, this is rough.
Oh, it was bad. I was crying in my car a lot. And people were nice at my work. They are nice people, but sometimes people will say things that will trigger you. Or just some things they said made me like kind of want to burst out in tears and then get angry. And so it's I feel like some people had to say something, and give a reason of why it happened. And, God has this plan, or God only gives this to people that are strong enough to deal with it. I didn't like that one. What does that mean? So I felt like people were kind of coming to me to try to be comforting, but then just saying something I thought was absurd. But I also appreciated that they said something. So I was just kind of focusing on that.
Yeah.
And then there's people that will just avoid it totally.
At all costs. Yeah. Okay.
And that was kind of hurtful when people avoid it and try to chit chat with you about everything else. It's just like, are you going to acknowledge it? Because this is kind of hurtful that you're not going to act like this happened. Yeah.
People are awkward.
Really. I know some people I thought that I was close with were really awkward, and it made me feel awkward. Like, now I don't think I can cry around them because they're awkward and don't want to say anything to me. So but I know some people are just better at it than others, I guess.
Yes, that's for sure. That is for sure.
I probably wouldn't be too good either, like, I don't know what I would say. Like, I'm not a grief counseling kind of person, I don't know if I would say the right things either,
Yeah. Well, we hope that never happens to anybody, right? Like, that's, you don't wish this on anybody. And so, so Stephanie, I know that we kind of talked a little bit about how you were very angry at your doctor for a time there. And after, when you went to like some postpartum checkups and stuff like that, What discussions did you have, and did that help having those discussions with your doctor?
Yeah, so my doctor, he was just very calm, 1, 2 word answers and just kind of breezed over this, I felt, and would be like, well, you could just get pregnant again. Like, I'm like, no, 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 let's talk about what happened. And he's actually a highly recommended doctor in Providence, and people love him. And my whole care with him was great. So I just feel like once this happened, I felt like breezed over this a little bit. And he just, was like, it's a freak accident. It's very rare, but it happens. I remember asking him, like, has this ever happened in your career? And he did say it happened once in 25 years.
Once? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I know, I actually talked to another lost mom and that had gone to him after she had an umbilical cord accident. So I don't know if that was kind of what he was talking about. But yeah, he did say, but he didn't go into detail. It was very one word. I don't know if he was trying to protect himself, like, after this kind of thing happens, but he was just very short with me. He was nice, like he was kind and said, you handled it better than I would in that circumstance. Like he would say things like that, or it's like it shouldn't happen again. It'd be like getting struck by lightning twice. I just feel like he was just very like burp, 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 burp about it. And I'm like, I was looking for more of like a shock from him, more of a reaction. And he was just kind of calm and I don't know, very doctor-like, I guess. I guess they're all kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just I couldn't get answers out of him. Like, why did this happen? And I guess I just wanted a walkthrough of what happened. And I don't know if there really is a walkthrough, but yeah. So I had a follow up, where they check you out, and and I was like, can I go into your office? Like, I want to talk about what happened. And then I asked him again what happened for like the third time, and he had told me, and I'm like, did you measure my umbilical cord? Is it a long umbilical cord? He said, I don't know. I didn't measure it. And I'm like, why didn't you measure it? I feel like they don't want to figure out what happened, or I guess it's not their responsibility to do research or try to figure it out. Their responsibility is to deliver your baby. And if it's not alive, then it's on to the next baby. Like, I just felt like they weren't trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah. So he even said that he didn't, after your baby was born, they didn't make a note or look at the umbilical cord and the length of it, like even visually.
No, he just said, I don't know. I didn't measure it.
Oh.
That was it. And then I had another ultrasound about 2 weeks before I delivered Collin. And my whole pregnancy, everything was totally normal. But a couple of weeks before, they measured my stomach, and I wasn't measuring as big as I should have measured at that like week. So he said, I'm just, very calm. I'm just gonna, give you an ultrasound and just check on the baby's growth because you're measuring a little behind, like 2 weeks. I was a little nervous because I'm like, wait, I thought everything was fine. And but I'm also like not a big woman, and my other son was small, so I kind of wasn't too alarmed. I'm like, maybe my stomach just won't get that big. So I went in for an ultrasound, and I remember she was kind of quiet, and I was like, hey, well, what's going on? How is everything? And she was like, well, the baby's actually really big, the baby will be over 8 pounds at birth, and you have a lot of amniotic fluid. She was just kind of quiet. It was like pulling teeth to get answers out of her. But I'm like, okay, well, everything's fine, I guess, and baby's big. And she said everything looked fine. But looking back, I just wonder if she saw the cord around the neck and just didn't say anything to me.
Interesting. I'm wondering, I don't know enough about ultrasounds and how that works, but I wonder if you can see how easily that can be seen.
Yeah, I've heard, I'm trying to figure this out. I've heard if you ask, they can show you a blood flow of the umbilical cord.
That's right.
So if you ask, so at the ultrasound, yeah. So I didn't know of anything with that, but then my follow up, I come back, and I'm about like a week before I deliver, and he comes in and said, "Oh, baby's fine. The baby's big. But the ultrasound looks fine." And I said, "Well, the baby's not moving around that much." I was like, "Is that He's like, "Well, the baby's big. It doesn't have much room to move around."
So you were even.
He kind of dismissed me, and I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. My first son, didn't move around a lot at the end. Like, that makes sense. They don't have much room because Collin was very active. He moved around a lot.
So you did actually notice that his movements were starting to not be as active.
Yeah, I did feel him the day before. Not like like big movements, but I felt him move. Like I remember saying to Sam, like I could feel it in my lower stomach and my upper stomach, like near my ribs. Like he's pretty long. Like I could feel him moving around a little bit. So it's like I did feel him at times. But yeah, I knew it wasn't as much. And now I'm trying to figure out like what the heck happened. So when I went into my doctor's office, I said to him, like, could you tell how tight the umbilical cord was around the neck at the last ultrasound? And he said no. So I didn't have enough balls, I guess, to ask him, did you know it was around the neck? I should have. It's like, I don't know why I avoided that, but I can assume that he probably knew it was. And, they said when the baby has the nuchal cord, we could just slip it over the neck. Like the baby should be fine. It's very rare for it to result and be dangerous.
Yeah.
So, and they don't usually tell, I've read a lot of things where they don't tell pregnant women that the cord is around the neck because there's nothing they can really do to manage it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to freak the pregnant woman out. And I've had a lot of, staying up late at night thinking like, well, I wish, like, I feel like as a pregnant woman, if they know the cords around the neck, they should tell us. What about if we want a second opinion? What about if we want another ultrasound to manage the blood flow? What about if we want to take it in our own hands? Like, just because you're the doctor doesn't mean you know everything and how I should handle my pregnancy. So I've had a lot of mixed thoughts, and I kind of want to barge in his office and get more answers and more answers and more answers, but I don't know. I don't know what I can't even actually stomach going in his office and seeing him. It's kind of like too traumatic.
Too traumatic. Yeah. It's just he's associated with that
Yeah.
very traumatic experience. So yeah,
But,
that's tricky. I mean,
yeah.
getting answers, not getting answers, but it seems like you want to maybe figure out what could have been prevented.
Yeah.
Would that make you feel better, you think?
My therapist asked me the same question. I don't know. I don't think it would. I don't want him to be to blame. Thinking he could have done something to help him. I don't know, but a freak accident doesn't feel good either.
No.
Because that's just like, what is that? It just, I don't know. Nothing will make me feel better about it. But I think I'd be a lot more angry if I knew like something could have been done to me. I just feel like if if he knew the cord was around the neck and I said anything having to do with, you know, you know, the baby not moving around as much, like I just feel like maybe we should have brought me into the hospital for another test. So it's just those things I'm just kind of angry about, and I don't know. I don't really know.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
All of those what ifs, right? Those are hard.
Yeah.
Those are hard. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if it's not his fault, it's my fault. It's one of our faults, I feel, because I don't know of any other babies that die like this. It's someone's fault. I talked to an umbilical cord specialist guy. He's out of Louisiana, and I was just like, what happened? Like, and he talks to moms all the time
Oh,
from
does he?
umbilical cord accidents. And he was just kind of describing it as like the perfect storm, or kind of like a combination locker. I visualized when he was explaining it. And he was just like, it's not just the umbilical cord, it's, where your placenta is located, how long your cord is, the baby's movements, and then the intensity of your labor. Like if you have a really high dose of melatonin released at night and you have a real intense labor, that could cause even more stress. He's like, and if all those things align, it creates like a perfect storm or a disaster, and it can cause this. It's very rare, but it would need all these things kind of fall into place for this to happen. So hearing that makes me feel, okay, maybe it's just a freaky thing that happened too. And
Yeah. That's I don't know if it's more reassuring, but yeah, sometimes it's just like, wow, it just lined up perfectly, not in our favor. Right.
yeah. It's very bizarre.
It is.
Yeah. So I don't know how this happened, why it happened. I don't understand it. I don't think I'll ever understand it, and that's very frustrating.
Yeah.
I want to know exactly what happened, but I don't think I will.
Yeah. That's frustrating too at the same time.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned before we actually started the call, some of the things that you like to do to remember Collin. So can you tell me what you like to do and how you're trying to keep his memory alive in your memory?
Yeah, so I have a blanket I sleep with every night that he was wrapped in after he was born. So yeah, hugging that makes me remember him. I think that's the most peaceful time that, I have is holding that blanket. I just get a sense of peace when I hold it and I feel close to him. Well, other ways, I have a little area in my room that I keep little trinkets. I never thought I'd be a trinket person, but I just keep little things that I see, at TJ Maxx or something that reminds me of Collin, butterflies, little baby angels, just little things. And that kind of helps, just makes me feel like I'm buying something for him or remembering him. So having a little area set up is helpful, and looking at his pictures, I do now and then. Um, Other ways, the stillbirth or stillborn thing, like, some days I just don't want to be part of this group, but then other days I do, and I want to help out this group and be part of this group. I'm already part of it, and I'd love to help others that are going through this, and I think it's a great way to remember Collin by also doing that. So I'd like to continue doing kind of work in the stillborn community. And his 1 year anniversary, I definitely want to remember him. I'm trying to come up with some ways.
Yeah.
Maybe a book drive, definitely a birthday cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do something. I still need to kind of figure that out.
You have a couple of months to figure that out. So that'll be good. Just once again, be kind and be gentle on yourself, because sometimes there's a lot of pressure on those anniversaries or birthdays, and it can be hard. It can be
It's
really
going to be a
hard.
hard day.
Mhm.
I already know it. I'm planning on leaving on like a little mini vacation I think the day of, because I just kind of don't want to stay in my house where I know this happened kind of year
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I might. We're going to the Guns N' Roses concert the
You
night
are?
before at Fenway in Boston because we love Guns N'
Oh,
Roses.
yeah. Nice.
So my husband's like, "Should we?" I'm like, "Yes, I would love to be distracted and go to a Guns N' Roses concert the night before." So I'm really glad we're doing that. But yeah, the day of we'll do a little celebration. But I want to be distracted a little bit. I
Yeah.
think I would probably want that because it's going to be a hard day.
It will be. It will be. Well, you've already mentioned some things that people shouldn't say, or you prefer not to hear. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to that list? Because I always have a list of things that I'm like, don't say that to me.
Well, because I hate to criticize what people don't say because I appreciate them trying to say something.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what the right thing to say is? I don't even know what I want to hear.
Yeah.
So I really hate to criticize. I think them showing effort and trying to be comforting to me is more important. But probably I don't really like to hear a reason of why this happened. There really isn't. There's no reason I'm comfortable with. Or someday you'll find out why this happened, or this is God's plan, or what was meant to be. Like things like that. I'm like, what? I was meant to carry a baby for 9 months, and it was supposed to die in my stomach. Like that shouldn't be any plan. So I don't like hearing anything like that. But I do like the people that say, it sucks. It's not fair. It isn't. So those are comforting.
Yeah. Those are good. And it's simple too. It's like,
Yeah,
it's just not fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I think, if I I know after this, if I have anybody close with me that deals with any grief, I feel like I kind of have a little bit of an idea of what I would say and what I wouldn't say. I think, being there and showing and mentioning and even though you think it's going to be awkward, I think just mentioning it, acknowledging it, and talking with them about it instead of avoiding it is definitely how I would handle like grief going forward.
Yeah.
I know how hard it can hurt and how much it means to just be there or send a text. Like texts can be, very nice too, So I definitely changed how I would be there for other people.
Yeah. Have you had any family or friends that have been outstanding to you in these
Yeah.
last few months?
My friends have been great, all of them. I've had different, like, I even took a girls' trip to LA,
Oh.
which is surprising. I think it was like 3 months after. I have a friend that lives out there, and they were like, let's just go. And I'm like, you know what? Why not? My therapist said, hey, that's a good idea. And I'm like, you know what? If my therapist says it, then I think I should go.
It's prescribed. I mean,
Yeah. So my husband was supportive. So I went for a weekend and it was great. I just felt like I could breathe for the weekend. I wasn't so involved in the grief. So that was really nice. And my friend group, they're awesome. And they're so sweet. And there was something one of my friends said, and I thought this was really nice. She said, there is an army of people that are in back of you that love and support you and Collin, and we will never forget Collin. And I pictured in my head that there was an army of people. That was really a nice thing to say. It's like I felt like she Googled it and like found the best thing to say to something. Like that really was a really nice thing to say. And she's a great friend. She gave me like little necklaces and like little things to remember. So that was really nice. That was a nice thing that someone said.
that's a cool visual actually.
Yeah, because I don't want anyone to forget him.
Yeah.
It kills me to think that people might forget him. So I definitely don't want. So by saying they won't forget or just mentioning his name, it makes me feel like okay, he's still here. He's still part of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I definitely, the chit chat and not acknowledging of my son has bothered me with some people, and I hate to say it. And I'm like, you know what, like maybe when I'm not so sensitive, I'll ease up, but like that can bother me sometimes. If people just kind of breeze over it. And I think I had one person say, well, those things kind of happen. I know of someone's relative's brother or sister, and this happened. And yeah, babies do die. And like sometimes when people talk to me, like, I mean, there's only been a couple of people that have been that odd about it, but I've heard that. I'm like, oh, well, thanks. I'm so glad you told me that there's babies that die and that I'm not the only one. Like, it was just in a way where it was like dismissive.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't feel good at all.
No, it doesn't. I'm like, all right, see you later. Oh, yeah, you'll get some wacky things, but yeah. But overall, people are kind.
Yes. People are kind and they have such good intentions.
Yeah.
Now, you've been married to Sam for how many years?
5 years.
5 years?
5-year anniversary, yeah.
That's awesome. And how has Sam dealt with losing Collin?
I feel so bad because he's been having to take care of me. I'm the one that's a mess. I have a whole range of emotions. I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm mad at my doctor, I'm mad at myself. I'm just kind of all over the place with my emotions sometimes. And he's been really having to help me out. And he keeps a lot to himself. I feel like he doesn't want to like talk to me about a lot because he doesn't want to go there with me or upset with me further. So yeah, he's kind of bottled a lot of it in, I think he needs to see a therapist. I've been trying to get him to go. He hasn't really talked about it much. So he's kind of held it in a lot. He's had to take care of me a lot with this and talk to me and try to make me feel better.
Yeah. Aren't we? I was like, that was basically my husband, Lee. He has been my support and he's been wonderful because of that. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
So sounds like your husband is doing the same thing, trying to take care of you.
Yeah. And he's been great. He really has been. I feel like he was there, like he knows, like.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That was his son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this is like really rocked his world. Like, I know he feels helpless. Like, we can't help our son. And I get that. I feel that too. So, yeah. I mean, we've dealt with it so differently. It's like he sees it from one angle and I see it from another angle. It's weird as we're both dealing with grief, but we're both on a different page,
Mm-hmm. So do you think he has, well, you mentioned that you feel like he's bottled up some things because he's kind of taking care of you. And
Yeah.
but you're on different pages. Do you think he's accepted it, or do you feel like he still needs to go through a few things before he's
I don't think he thinks it's fair. I think he doesn't understand, why did this happen to us?
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of obsessed with the medical aspect. Like, how did the cord get wrapped around the neck?
Right.
And did my movements impact this? I'm obsessed with the medical aspect of how this happened. He's kind of obsessed with, why did this happen to us? You know, it's like 1 in 5,000. It might even be slimmer than that. Sometimes the cord can be wrapped around the neck and the baby can be born fine. But when the cord's wrapped around the neck and for it to result in death, it's like 1 in 5,000. And or something, I might be wrong. I don't know. Google. But he's like, why was we that rarity? Like, why us? So he's kind of that bothers him. Yeah, it's just not fair. And then he gets angry with God, and but he's kind of accepted that, there's nothing, like, he doesn't think I should feel guilty. He's like, why do you feel guilty? Like, he doesn't get why I kind of beat myself up about that. But he is supportive, though, and just letting me, take my time to heal, giving me a second away from the house if I need a second away. Yeah.
That's great.
Letting me vent.
Yeah. No, seriously, like letting each other talk, and that's kind of the best sometimes. So.
And his family's great too. He has a really supportive family.
Are they nearby as well?
Sort of. Yeah, he has a mom nearby and his dad's like an hour and a half away, not too far.
Okay.
But they've been very supportive to both of us too.
That's wonderful. Man, yeah, family is huge. Like our family, I feel like we were carried with that. I mean, they basically carried us along for a long time there because we were a mess.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah. Everyone's been great. And little ornaments when there was Christmas was hard. We got a lot of little ornaments with his name on it, and that was really nice. Yeah. I loved that, putting that on the tree.
Did you do anything for his grave for Christmas time?
I brought a wreath.
Nice.
It's very hard for me to go to his grave.
Is it?
It kills for like days after. So I'd love to go more, but it's really hard. Yeah. But I do, like, for Valentine's Day, I brought a little heart, like a wreath heart. And for Christmas, we did a wreath that we brought, and a little Christmas tree, actually, we brought. And we wrapped up a gift for him, and like a trinket, like a little baby angel, I wrapped up and put under the tree. And we had a stocking for him. It's just sad. I just want him here.
Yeah, you want to give him gifts to him.
Yeah. I just felt like I was pretending, but yet he is here. He is part of our family. It's just, Christmas was so hard because, you just want your kids there on Christmas. Christmas was really hard. I hated it. And I wanted to take a vacation, just avoid it altogether, but we didn't do that.
Yeah, you got a 2-year-old to give Christmas
he was
to.
So excited about Santa, so it was like the contrast was. Yeah. We were so sad, but yet our 2-year-old was so excited to open presents.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just like, okay, I guess the show's got to go on. So. Yeah.
So my 2-year-old he doesn't understand what happened. He knew I was pregnant. He would grab my stomach and be like, "Baby, my belly," and he would lift up his shirt and show his belly. And then, when we were pregnant, we would show our bellies to each other. And then a couple of days after, he would feel my stomach and he'd be like, "No, baby, bye, bye." And he would say these odd things. I don't know. He just knew.
Wow.
Yeah,
really?
I was sad that he just knew there wasn't a baby anymore. And he doesn't really get it. We mentioned Collin's name and he's like, "But Collin, bye." And sometimes it's just really odd hearing him say these things. I want him to know Collin and know it's his brother, but I also don't know how much I should explain to a 2-year-old about this.
Yeah. He's so young. But he might understand him a little bit more than you think as well.
Yeah, I think he does. And he's really smart. So yeah, I think he kind of gets it. But he gets so much attention, and
I'm sure
doing well. Like, it didn't shake him, which I'm so happy that he kind of was a little oblivious to this.
Yeah. In the last 7 months, and like I said, you're so new to this still, But have you had any revelations about, any aha moments that has kind of helped you through all of this? Any turning
Sometimes
points?
what helps me through is, thinking, I want a baby and, I want to try to get pregnant again and have another baby. So sometimes that just makes me excited about life. So I just try to focus on that. And sometimes I'm at a point where sometimes I have to shelf this grief a little bit more just so it doesn't consume me, just so I can work a day and work with my son and not be so sad. So sometimes I have to shelf it and just focus on the future and think, I hopefully can have a baby and hopefully this won't happen again. There's no aha moments of why this happened. Like, I just don't know why, and I can't figure it out medically. And I try to piece this together and figure it out, but I can't. It's just all I'm getting to from doctors. It's a freak accident. So I'm really not understanding why this happened. But yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't know if I've had too many aha moments just yet. Hopefully they come.
Yeah. It's, I mean, some people have, and some people, like, we're still in the middle of it. You're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
You are in the thick of it. And it's hard to, it's hard to really see long-term / big picture until you're not so close to it, I think. So,
Yeah.
do you guys have any plans? I know we talked about Christmas. I know Easter's coming up, and that can always be a touchy subject. And also Mother's Day and Father's Day is going to be coming up in the next few months. Any thoughts on that, or any plans for how you might be celebrating that?
I don't know. I know I'm not up for a whole lot on Easter. I really don't want to go to like a family's house. I kind of want something small at home.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes in social situations where everyone knows what happened, it's just awkward for me because I don't know. I can't do awkward chit chat anymore. I think it's just exhausting. And so I try to avoid some situations like holidays with extended family. I don't know. I think I would like to stay home and have like a calm Easter and just maybe have an Easter egg hunt with my son and just
that'll be sweet.
Calm.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that. I don't know. I don't really know what we're doing.
Yeah. I just like to just be aware that those are coming up, and those could be a little bit tricky because those were tough for us. Easter was really hard for us. So
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to put more stress on you, but I think your plan of having a chill, calm Easter is a good idea.
Yeah, I think that's good. So yeah, I just want to relax and eat, brunch it.
Yeah, brunch it. Enjoy each other. Enjoy your little family, and call it good. So
yeah.
Stephanie, this has been so wonderful. I feel like I don't know you very much, but I feel like you, even in the last 7 months, you've learned a lot. You really are struggling and grieving, and you love your son so much. And I think that's wonderful and beautiful. And I just wanted to know if you have any last piece of advice that you would share with other lost moms out there.
Just to be kind to yourself. That really helped me. And just to, take time to grieve, to feel this, to talk to a therapist and just live in it. You can't you can't just bottle it. You got to live it. And you got to take the time and just be kind to yourself. I think that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. A huge thank you to Stephanie for being so honest and open with her experience and just speaking her mind about losing her son, Collin. It takes a lot to talk about it so shortly after her loss, which was really just less than a year ago. And that is so hard. So thank you, Stephanie. Head on over to our website, stillapartofus.com, where you can find the show notes, including a full transcript of this interview and any resources that were mentioned, where you can sign up for a short and helpful email newsletter, where you can learn how you can become a patron and support the work it takes us to produce the show for just a few dollars a month. And lastly, where you can find out how to get in touch with us if you want to share your child's story on the show. The show was produced and edited by Winter and Lee Red. Thanks to Josh Woodward for letting us use his song, Vanishing Note. You can find him at joshwoodward.com. Lastly, subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend that might need it, and tell them to subscribe. Why? because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us.
Here's something to think about. How come you never see a headline like, Psychic Wins Lottery? Jay Leno.